So guys, we all know it's 2022 and there's a lot going on. Ukraine and Russia are at war. And unfortunately, because of that, commodities in certain parts of the world have become expensive. If you're the local Ghanaian or Ugandan farmer and you're trying to import maize or wheat, that price is even much more so, because Ukraine and Russia, they're some of the biggest wheat suppliers on the planet. What about gas? I mean, isn't it been ridiculous? Gas prices have also skyrocketed. But not only that, some of your investments have tanked. Bitcoin, anybody? Yeah, it's taking a beating. What about the stock market? Tech stocks taking a beating. And I kind of want to talk about the stocks here because that's a part of this video. Because this video is not really about the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ 100, but there are some correlations with our topic today, which is the vaginal stock market. And let me kind of talk about what I've seen with certain tech stocks. Now, by no means am I a stockbroker or a stock market analyst, because I am far from that. But what we have seen, especially in tech stocks, is that they've taken a beating. Tesla, I mean, like a year ago, it was one of the best stocks in the United States. But see, Tesla may have been what we would consider, in stock market analogy, overvalued. For what people were actually paying for it, the company really just didn't produce anything. Not that they don't produce anything, but they just don't produce what you're paying for the stock. So what the stock market does in times of crisis and things like we're seeing now is the stock market tends to put things back into the place that they should be. Companies like Johnson & Johnson, which are always pretty much never affected by stock market situations, are always stable. It still performs as it always has. It's a great company. It performs pretty good. Waste Management, which is one of my favorite stocks and Bill Gates' favorite stocks, it's not taking that much of a beating because Waste Management is a company that actually produces what it does every year. But the Amazon and Tesla and some of the tech stocks like Shopify have taken an extreme beating, and the market has adjusted to what these things are really worth. And now that comes into the position of the video we're talking about today, the vagina market of 2022. Now, of course, not all women are created equal. And when we're talking about vagina, we're not really talking about the actual body part. What we're dealing with is the ability for a woman to get married, or for men to want to take care of women. That's what the stock market is about. And in times past, like in my grandfather's time, and I will use a good year, 1949, a lot of men wanted to get married. It was a great part of the society. I mean, if you got married, you looked up to, in not only American community, but in niche communities like the Black community. And I want to give a shout out to Better Bachelor, because he has a video that he put out 2 years ago called "Men Have Determined the Risks Aren't Worth It. Marriage dating rates in couples have plummeted." And in this particular video, he even talks about the fact that in years prior, men would have to basically get married to have access to sex. You wanted to have a good job to get married. It looked good, and you had to do a lot of sacrificing. You could afford to buy a house at that time. I believe like a house was maybe a year and a half salary of what you could make in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So not that bad. But in certain cases in America, let's say if you make $70,000 a year, it's not uncommon in California for your house price average is like $700,000 to $800,000 a year. So in this time, you see men have to spend a lot more money and have a lot more money to have the same lifestyle that my grandfather enjoyed in 1949. But you see, another thing is also going on now. Sex is very easy to get in comparisons to times past. Now, I'm going to do a video about Tinder, in that a lot of guys are not having sex because of Tinder, and that is still true. But sex has relatively been easier to get in times past. And so what's happened is that because it's so easy to get, and women are talking about their sexual exploits more openly now. I mean, you have a lot of influencers like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. They have a song called WAP. You have people like Lizzo. So men are getting to see what women are talking about, are bragging about in single motherhood. Of course, doesn't make a woman bad, but obviously you have a lot more women with children, and that is a demotivating factor for a lot of guys. And so because of all of these things culminating into one kind of big kerfuffle, as Anthony Brian Logan says, the vaginal stock market of 2022 has also crashed. How do we know this? Young black men in particular, are less and less and less interested in getting married. And it's not just young black men that feel like this. This is young men all over the entire world, especially in the United States. You're starting to see guys say, what am I getting out of a long-term relationship? If I get married to her, number one, I have barely enough money to support myself, to support some woman in a family, and she doesn't really feel like that she needs to cook for me. She doesn't really feel that she needs to clean for me. And at any given moment is a no-fault divorce and I can lose everything that I have. Well, then what's the use when I can just screw her for free, right? Like, or very little money. Like, why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free?
He needs some milk.
And that's exactly what you're seeing. Guys are more interested in short-term relationships where, you know, all right, you know, it's not working out. You can kind of go over there and do something else. And, you know, and you're seeing that people are either not having sex and they're okay with, you know, sex dolls or 3D or whatever it is, the metaverse, however they want to do it. Or, you know, just, you know, you can go overseas, you know, there's places that's legal and you can do it that way. And at the end of the day, you still get your rocks off and there's nothing that you can really do about it. You're still happy. But that's the stock market crash of vagina in 2022. That's what's happening. I mean, we even saw it the other day. There was a young lady who posted at an event that no men were showing up to the singles mixers. And that's another indication. Like, men are just not as interested as before, because what has happened is you have a lot of adult porn sites. We're not going to show that. You have a lot of people on OnlyFans. You have a lot of women doing things like that. So guys are kind of like, well, why do I need to have this connection with this woman? And like, since I've been a teenager or, you know, an adult, young adult, I've been seeing these things. Like, I don't have to wait to get married, and society is not going to really respect me anyway. Like, especially if you're in the black community, like I could become a lawyer, a doctor, and all I'm going to get is, you know, maybe somebody that's already been out there messing around with guys who didn't have anything. So what's the whole point? So this is why the demand for ladies is going down as far as serious relationships. And if you don't believe me, well, let me ask you guys this question. If you've ever had an ex-girlfriend, here's how we're going to put it to the test. You break up with her or she breaks up with you. What about the next guy she deals with? Is that guy taking care of her? Remember the saying, if you won't do it, somebody else will? Well, let's put it to the test, guys. How many men are taking care of these women once you get dumped by them? Well, we can sit here and talk about that, but we all know what the answer is. Very little. Very few guys are coming in telling women, hey, listen, I want to marry you. I want to put you into a nice house. I want to put you in a nice car. And I want to put your kids into private school every year. A lot of guys are not saying that as much as they used to. All right. It's just not feasible. Number one, it's not affordable. And number one, guys are saying like, this really isn't worth it. So that's what you're seeing. All your ex-girlfriends, when they go and deal with somebody else, typically they're dealing with a guy who did less than you financially, emotionally. And the reason is because there are just not a lot of guys out there that want to put the effort in. Most dudes want something short term. And that's kind of what proves the pudding, your own anecdotal evidence. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I already appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell, check out the first comment at the top. And as you know, the buffoonery remains all time. Hi, I'm out.